Welcome to Fertility Village. This is your weekly live talk show where community and support come together. With rotating hosts, expert guests, and meaningful conversations, we're here to guide you through the highs and the lows of infertility. Whether you're searching for answers, seeking advice, or just looking for a special place to belong, Fertility Village is your space to connect, learn, and grow. Because it really does take a village, and we are here for you every step of the way. Thanks for joining. Hello. Welcome to Fertility Village Live. It is July 9th, and this is a very special episode because we don't have a special guest tonight. Our special guest is our journal, and we're so excited to bring this journal to the fertility community. It's been a labor of love and work and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into this resource, and it's something that is being created by the creators of Oasis and women who have gone through a fertility journey and created a resource that we wish existed while we were on our journeys. So welcome Ashley, my co-host tonight. Hey Ashley, how's it going?
Good. I'm so excited to share this with everyone. Like you said, I wish it was something that I could have had on my journey. It was long and you forget things. And I wish I had something to kind of, remember different aspects, different parts of my cycle, how I was feeling, how things went, when things went well, when things didn't, and just to remember that for future cycles and so forth. So yeah, I'm excited for this.
Yay. I hope that everybody who's joining us tonight really gets a picture of what this is and what it means to us. And we're going to let you know at the end how you can get a copy of this journal. This journal is a free resource that we're providing. Well, I don't have to wait till the end. I can tell you right now, but this journal is something that you can get for free if you join us at a support group. And so we're so excited to offer it. And we actually also have you can not purchase it. You can get it for free right now through our website. We have a pre-order special going. So if you're listening live, then this is an opportunity for you tonight to go to our website, oasisfsn.com, and check it out. You just have to pay for the shipping and we'll get it out to you at no cost. So we are so excited about this. This whole month on Fertility Village Live, we've really been focusing on mental health. We've been talking about care. We've been talking about, just different aspects of navigating your fertility journey and how it does impact your mental health. And so much of this resource, so much of journaling, so much of, the mental health piece of infertility is what this journal was created for, with mental health in mind. And so we're going to go through a lot of the resources. We're not going to give you everything that's in here because we want everybody to get a copy in hand. But just so you know, half of the journal, the whole center is, it's pages to journal. That's what it's for, is actually writing down your thoughts, your feelings. There's pages in here for the WTF appointment notes. There's pages in here for rage pages. There's pages in here for gratitude. There's all kinds of stuff. So we're going to move through tonight some of the mental health resources that we think are really key for the fertility journey. And then we're going to spend some time at the end talking about navigating the 2-week wait, because we all know that the 2-week wait is a really hard and it's just such a difficult 14, sometimes 10 to 14 days of every cycle that you have to repeat over and over and over and over and over again. So we're going to spend a bit of time at the end, because in the journal, in the resource section, there is a guide to the 2-week wait. So I'm going to throw it over to Ashley, and she is going to start talking about the power of support groups and why you should maybe join a support group. We're going to start there.
Sure. One thing I wanted to mention, and I know we talked about it at our tea party, but if there are any clinics who are watching, they want to get a hold of these for their patients as well, please contact us, because that's something that we can definitely support you with, so that we can get them into hands of everyone going through fertility, because I do think it's such a valuable resource.
Yes.
So let's talk about why we should join a support group. So support groups, one, they make things less lonely. We know going through infertility is really, really isolating, and it can feel that way. Maybe everyone in your community is getting pregnant and you're not. And you really need a group of people who can understand what you're going through and understand the different, like the terminology that you're using. You can explain these terms. I used to say to my parents or my friends some of the things that I was going through, and they really just didn't understand what it was like or what I was even talking about. So it's really nice to be able to like relate to somebody who's been going through something. It's also a nice place to speak open and honestly, because sometimes I feel like we have to be like strong for other people, but in those communities, you get that opportunity just to be like open and honest and like raw about what you're feeling and what you're going through. So I think that's something so great. And the nice part about it is so many connections are built on that. I know that's how you and Tiffany became such great friends, and Oasis formed through that. So I think that that's something that's so amazing that's come from that. And there's just so much power in community. Getting resources. And I know there's lots of people within the community who I've connected with and maybe learned something. Maybe it's how to handle how they respond to people. Maybe if people keep asking, maybe if you're pregnant, like how you can respond to people, or maybe it's a new treatment or something you should ask about to your doctor. Like, I think it's a really great tool for people to just come and feel that sense of community, but also get the support that they need and just resources and feedback and all of that. And yeah, do you want to share a little bit about the support group that you were in?
Yeah, totally. I was in a support group on my journey, which I was super fortunate. One of my good friends started it. And I know, like, from firsthand that the biggest step in actually attending a support group is getting there for the first time. And I was very resilient with my own journey and getting to a support group for the first time. I was like, I don't need this. I'm fine. I've got this. I've got supportive friends. I've got supportive family. And so it took me a long time to get to my first support group. I felt like it was scary. I felt like I don't need help. I felt like I don't want to talk about this any more than I have to. I was like hiding out at home. But the minute I took the step, like the first support group that I went to, I was like, oh my gosh, what have I been waiting for? This is so amazing. It was just so incredible to meet with other people who like truly understood the pain and understood the terminology and understood all of it, and like who I could ask questions to and be like, wait, what, you did that on your cycle? I wonder, what that means about my cycle, or just to like, talk through each other's journeys. It was so impactful. And I made some of like my best friends who we still do life together with today. I still do life with them today. This is like 6 or 7 or 8 years later. And we're all fortunate enough to have success with our journeys, and we have our kids together. And it's just the most amazing community still, because infertility never leaves you. It's something that's always going to be there. You're always going to still struggle with things. And so, it's just been the most amazing connections. And I feel like it is like what got me through the journey. So absolutely. And then now I lead the support group here locally in Barrie, and I just hear these stories of people meeting together, and the people that come to my group and the people that come to all of our 10, we've got 10 active in-person support groups in Ontario, and we've got a bunch of virtual options with a men's group launching this month. We're so excited about that. But we are really, really excited about support groups here at Oasis. It's what we do. It's like why we exist. And so we just feel like everybody who's on this journey would benefit from going to one. It's such a safe place to talk about what you're going through without being judged, without having somebody be like, oh, you should just go on vacation, or you should just this, or you should just that, giving you like unwanted, unsolicited advice, which is something that we all deal with. So I'm going to share the screen here, and we're going to look at a few different things that we can. I'm just going to change the view here so that we can see us. Is that better?
So here's a couple of slides here that we have that'll you'll find in our journal, and they just talk about the benefits of being in the support group. So we have like reducing distress, there's the friendships in the community, realizing that you're not alone, helping others. Like I said, that's one of the big things that comes out of it too, is being able to share your experiences and helping other people. And again, maybe it comes from it, oh, like you tried this medication and that worked for you, like maybe I should ask about it. So you just get some like free resources and friendships and helping other people, sharing shared experiences. So that's something else, and being able to express your feelings, learning some coping strategies and some other resources that are out there. So maybe someone mentions that they're talking to a therapist on the side and maybe shares that contact with you, or maybe a fertility acupuncture, or there's lots of things that everyone in fertility is always trying and always doing. And it's such a growing field, and new things are coming out all of the time. So it's just really a great spot where we can make those connections. So we have lots of things in our journal about why, obviously, we think that everyone should join a support group, but why you might want to join a support group in there.
Yeah. And I'll just share, there's like a couple little quotes in the journal about people who have attended a support group before. So I'm going to read from it and read a couple of these, like the impact of the support group. So we have one here from Kaylee that says, going through infertility can be really lonely. I was surrounded by people who were getting pregnant and having babies. Meanwhile, I was jabbing myself with needles and staying on top of clinic appointments while trying to stay positive. I felt like I was holding my breath, steeling myself against all the uncomfortable moments and waiting for the next piece of bad news. My first Oasis meeting felt like a huge exhale. Suddenly I was surrounded by people who just got it. They empathized with what I was going through, and they gave me tips and tricks that I never would have thought of. And finding community was a huge part of what got me through IVF. So we have a few stories in there of just people's experiences in attending our support groups. And we just think that it really does impact your mental health. I'm just going to make a note. We're sharing some pages from the journal throughout this. However, if you're watching on Instagram tonight, they're going to be very small because obviously, like, it's just on a small screen. But if you're joining us on YouTube or on Facebook, then hopefully you can see those a little bit better. If you're joining us on Instagram tonight, jump over to YouTube later and have a look. You'll get a better viewpoint of the pages of the journal. So yeah, that's the pieces that are in there about the joining a support group part. And from there, we have some really cool, beautiful pages about affirmations and mantras. Now, affirmations and mantras, however you decide to say that, are they're shown and proven to lower stress, improve mood, and build resilience. I have a business coach personally for my work, and she's always giving me new mantras. What's going to be your mantra this week? What's going to get you through this hard time or that hard situation or whatever? And I find it so helpful even still in my day-to-day life. But the ones that are really focused on infertility or your fertility are going to be, very purposeful towards your journey. And practicing positive self-affirmation actually activates your brain's reward centers and reduces reactivity to stress. So it allows you to come back down to the ground and get a picture and get a feeling around I'm going to be okay. Essentially that is what we're doing, is talking ourselves into, we're going to be fine. And so do you have anything to add to that, Ashley?
No, I think it's just important to, during this, yes, and I know we always hear it, stay positive, but you know, even if we can't stay positive, we still want to or have to get through the situations that we're being faced with. So whether it's, maybe you're terrified of needles, maybe it's something, but just knowing that it will pass, or having those something you can say to yourself, being this is only temporary, or will really, I think, help people go through these really hard times. And we don't always have to be positive when you're going through it, but it is helpful to get through some of these hard things that you are going through. So I think that, again, maybe something saying, maybe I'm not alone in this. I have a group of people, I know who I can go to. I'm doing the best that I can. This is not my fault. Like, I'm not the only one. I think that those are things that we can really help to kind of like soften what we're going through.
Yeah. I know Kaylee on our team has shared before too. I'm not going to die. Like, this is not going to kill me, even though it's hard. I know that one's like, it feels extreme, but it is true. Like, and these are truths. Like, I am not alone. I'm doing the best I can. And I think like how we use mantras is picking a statement like that. Maybe you pick one a day, one a week, one a month. You repeat it during stressful times or daily. You write it down. You say it in the mirror to yourself. Like, you've got this. Look at yourself. I don't know if any of you have read Mel Robbins' book, The High Five, but like, she high fives herself in the mirror. She's like, you've got this. You can do this, needles. And it's like actually trains your brain and tells your brain like the truth about the situation instead of letting the fear take over the facts that are actually what's going on. So yeah, we gave you some sample mantras. Again, like I said, there's lots in the journal. I think there's 25 listed here that you can draw from. And then there's another section of the journal where we give you space to like write one down for the day, or you could write it in the journaling section of the book. So yeah, if you're watching live with us, we would love for you to share with us what's a mantra that you feel would help you. If you want to drop it in the comments, we'll read it out. Do you use any mantras during your own journey?
Did I personally? I think that I would say what
would be the one that would be helpful, do you think, to you?
I think it's like, I can do hard things, or like, this too will pass. Like, it's not like, or this is only temporary. Like, it's not like a forever stage. Like, kind of just like reminding myself, like, this isn't something I'm like we will get through this. Like, it's not like Kaylee, I'm not going to die. I'm like, we will move on. Like, things will be better, but it really sucks right now. But
100%. Yeah. And I think like, obviously making a note of like, you know, there's a lot of toxic positivity out there, and just trying to avoid toxic positivity, but be real with yourself in terms of where you are. And you can hold emotions of hope and emotions of fear at the same time, and emotions, you know, all kinds of different emotions. And so it's okay if the feelings are mixed about, you know, what's happening in your life and what you're actually, you know, going through and experiencing. Right.
For sure.
Yeah.
I think too, like, and like, you can, like I said, we have it so you can write them down, and maybe pick like ones that are really meaningful, or ones that stand out to you. And like, something you could do is, you know, set it on on your lock screen on your phone, or for the week. Or if you know, like, this is a really hard week, maybe it's your 2-week wait, you know, you can put these like mantras out there for you, just like something to always look at, that is that, like, you know, I can do this, I will get through this. Like, just to have that like out and ready. Write them down, the ones that are meaningful to you, and then again, put them where you can see them.
Yeah, I love that. Do you want to talk about some of the other mental health tools that we have in there?
For sure. So we have some other mental health. So we have some like mindful check-ins, kind of. So where are you in your journey? How are you feeling in this moment? We have some progressive muscle relaxation. So as we go through this, we have different, I don't know if you're showing the screen. There we go.
Here we go. We got it now.
Perfect. All right. So we have some progressive muscle relaxation. We also have the mental health pain scale, where your like how your feelings are. So like naming your feelings, which helps reduce like feeling overwhelming. Like, so you're able to kind of name how you're feeling. We have for tracking emotions and feeling like you're just stressed over time. We have, here's the emotions wheel that I was talking about. So pinpoint.
I love the emotions wheel.
Yeah.
I like rely on this on the regular.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause it really like breaks it down into, you know, something as simple as why do I feel nauseous? Well, it could be then any one of the things inside of this inner circle, which then leads to like sadness ultimately. So this helps us use like the physical things we're feeling to identify the emotions that we're working through. And it's just such a cool tool to like figure out and get to the bottom of what's actually going on in our bodies and what we're actually working through. So I love the emotional sensation wheel. It's an old tool that was originated from the work of a psychologist named Robert Plutchik, and it's commonly also known as the feelings wheel. If you've heard of the feelings wheel, it's the same thing. So,
and I think this is like a great tool, especially if you're trying to explain to, maybe it's a friend or a family member, like how you're feeling, or maybe it's your doctor. Like maybe you're trying to explain to them, like, this is what I'm going through. Maybe it's one of your therapists, maybe it's people in the support group, but I think it's really great to be able to like name your feeling and helps you understand like where your body's at. So I think that's something that's such a great tool.
For sure.
We also have a cycle of self-love. So reflect small ways to reconnect with your body and your worth. So trying to remember the good things that your body can still do while we're going through this. Again, those things like I can do hard things, how to still appreciate what your body is able to do, I think is a big thing while we're going through fertility, and that we are able to go through the treatments and able to access care, and our body and our mind is getting us through those things.
Yeah, I love that. And I think self-love is, we're like so hard on ourselves. I think not just as a women, but like as fertility patients, we feel broken. We feel like something we've done to cause this. And I think it's so important to just always circle back to like, you know, the truth about we didn't cause this, and that's the cycle of self-love in this book is really, really awesome. It just like, it really, it's a great reminder, and it's a beautiful graphic to just kind of like meditate on or sit with for like a little while, and just kind of bring up your thoughts and feelings back to like, you know, centering yourself around, you know, loving yourself and realizing this isn't your fault kind of thing, you know?
And I think too, like from like our bodies go through so many changes throughout the whole process, whether it be, you know, you're on your mind, like how your body and your emotions are affected so much, but as well as your physical body changes, you know, when you're injecting hormones into your body, and maybe you have weight gain or maybe it's weight loss, depending on how the medications affect you, but your body is changing. Maybe you're feeling like maybe you have more cramps, or maybe you're going through all these side effects from the medications and stuff. So just that reminder that like you need to still take care of your body, and that these changes are okay that your body's going through. So just like a kind of like sit in your feeling and of how your body is, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. That's so good. The next page that we have in here is about the journey of grief. And I don't think it's a shocker to anybody who's going through infertility. If you're listening to this episode and you haven't been through infertility, or you have a loved one who's going through it, then it's really good to understand that there's so much loss in the fertility journey, even before you get to your first cycle. If you've just had a diagnosis and just found out that this isn't going to work, we're not going to conceive naturally, we need help, that in itself is a loss of the picture and plan that you had for your future, for your family, and how you're going to conceive and how you're going to become a mom or a dad. And so that in itself is the start of you'll start entering into the grief cycle, because it is a loss. It's a loss of the picture that you had for the future, and so on and so forth, like I just mentioned. And so this journey of grief, it's not linear. There's no grief journey that's linear. But when you have a loss, when you experience a death in your life, when you experience a loss, you go through grief, and grief is very, very real. And it'll often like resurface during like failed treatments. That would be a trigger to like grief coming up again and again. sometimes birthdays or life milestones, or your friend getting pregnant, or your, sister or whatever, somebody going through something, it'll trigger your own grief because it's a reminder of, what you've lost. And so I think mourning what hasn't happened is completely valid when you're on the fertility journey. And so this page, I spend a lot of time here because I think these 5 stages are so important, and you can recognize your own grief when you read through these and talk about denial. This isn't happening to me. It's going to be, whatever, it's going to be fine. There's anger, there's bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And those things don't happen in that order. They don't necessarily happen all to you. You could go through some of the stages and not all of them, but in most cases, you will go through all the stages. The craziest thing to me about infertility, and that I experienced when I was on my journey, and I'm still on my journey, even though I have a child and I'm not going through any more fertility treatment. Like I said earlier, this journey doesn't ever leave you. I still have waves of grief about, the 10 years I lost when I went through as I was going through my fertility journey of my normal life. I grieve those years that I spent in the cycles doing all of the hard things. And so I still have waves of this. It's like a death, when you lose somebody close to you, you still experience waves of grief, like I said before, at anniversaries or life milestones or, something like that. And as you heal, you make space for grief, but you don't actually erase it. And as you go through, and acceptance doesn't necessarily mean that you're okay with it. It just means that you're learning to carry it, And so I think, I love this page.
I think it's too, during our fertility journey now, we're at the point where we're okay, where we've accepted we have my son, and that we'll do one more embryo transfer of our last embryo, and if it works, it works. But if not, we're ready to move on from that stage of our life. However, then it comes back to anger when people say to me oh, you're gonna have another kid, or you should just have another one, if there's going to be an age gap, you kind of get back into that okay, if you only knew what I was actually going through and what the process was, and you kind of start again. And it's, so it's not that you go through everything, I'm not in denial anymore. I obviously understand that there's a situation, the situation, but you hope it works. Maybe you go through some bargaining and you're we can do this, or maybe things will, you kind of in the bargaining, I kind of say it's kind of that hope stage for me anyway. It kind of totally. If I do these things, it will work or whatnot. And then obviously when it doesn't, then you kind of go into that depression stage or whatnot, being sad or upset that the situation didn't work out or the outcome wasn't what you wanted. And then again, kind of come around to that acceptance. But I feel some of those other stages, like you said, they do pop back up every now and again. There are those triggers. There are those things people say to you or whatnot that will carry forever, I think. Yeah. So I think that page is really cool.
Yeah. I love that page. It's something if you've been through therapy or in therapy, if you're not, I highly encourage it always, but it is something that you can take this to your therapist and have them work through these stages with you and talk about, how is this presenting in my life? We'll use the emotions wheel to identify the emotions that we're feeling. Again, the emotions in the center of the wheel are some of the things that are here. So yeah, I think it's such a great tool. So it was a no-brainer that those mental health tools were going to be in the journal. Yeah. So let's talk about grounding, Ash.
So we also have some pages in our journal about grounding. So it helps us to interrupt spirals of anxiety, which when you're going through fertility, sometimes it feels like you're just spiraling out of control, and just helps us reconnect with being present in the moment, and kind of reconnects us with what is happening around us. So it's used in trauma-informed therapy and mindfulness research. So there's 3 types of grounding. There's mental grounding. So there's the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique. So 5 things you see, 4 things you hear, 3 things you feel, 2 things you smell, and 1 thing you taste. So going through that process, and that can change depending on what works for you. There's also physical grounding. So touching a texture, holding a mug, There's lots of things you can do with like physical grounding, and soothing grounding is self-talk, visualizing a safe space. Maybe it's reciting those mantras we talked about earlier. So I can do hard things. I can do hard things, like taking that moment to just like reconnect with the present around you and kind of try to stop that like spiraling and that anxiety feeling when you're in the moment. Did you ever use grounding on your journey?
Yes. So I had a therapist at the beginning of my journey and then a different one like at the end. And at the beginning, this therapist suggested I try this 5 4 3 2 1 technique at one point, and I was sitting there. This is just me being real, so because anybody who knows me knows that you don't get anything else. I was like, this is stupid. Like, I'm not going to do that stupid thing you said, 5 4 3 2 1 like technique. And then one day I was like waiting for my ultrasound, and I'm sitting there in the waiting room, and all of a sudden I started having all of these intrusive thoughts. And I was like, how am I going to get out of this? And all of a sudden her words came back to me, like the, 5 or this technique, this mental grounding technique. And I started just looking around this like room of the hospital. And I was like, okay, 5 things I can see, and like named them. And then and it was just like a great distraction, the smell, the taste. I did all the things, and it actually worked. It actually like made me feel safer. It made me feel a little bit distracted. It made me feel like, okay, those thoughts, I don't have to like let them in. We can just, change the mindset in that moment. And so, yeah, it does work.
One of
you
the
can also
things
like
that
use categories. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
One thing I did, and I just like kind of flashed back to me as we're talking about this, is after our failed IVF cycle, we found out we had no eggs from that cycle, and I had to go back for an ultrasound to rule out ovarian hyperstimulation afterwards. And so they're doing this ultrasound. Right. And I remember just being like devastated, and I'm laying there and I'm just like looking at the ceiling, and I was one of those, like, they had like the tiles, and I remember just laying there and I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to count the tiles to get through this. And I remember like just laying there and I'm just like, this is awful. And I'm like, how many more tiles am I going to have to count before this is over? But just trying to like get out of that moment and just like think about something else, or like disconnect yourself from what was happening. So I just kind of thought of that here.
That's so good. You can also do
techniques.
Yes. And you can also do like categories. Like, you don't have to like look around the room. You could like think of types of dogs, or you could just start naming, different, our journal says like musicians that you like, or thinking of your favorite songs. Like, there's lots of ways that you can like turn your mind to something that is going to like just be more, it's going to help you tune out what your anxiety or your body is struggling with. And then the physical grounding, I didn't realize that I did physical grounding until we wrote this journal, and I started looking at, because Lindsay, who's on our team, she was really awesome in bringing some of these mental health tools. She's a social worker and a master's of social work, has her master's. And so she brought in a lot of these techniques, and I was like, okay, the first one is like run cold or warm water over your hands, or like I splashed it on my face. And I was like, that helped. That always helped me. Like, it's like that sort of wake up, like back to reality, like that kind of brings you more alive. Or like, stretching or noticing your body, or just like thinking about something in your body. Or I have this spinner ring. And that's also something that I do, is spin the ring. You can carry a smooth object in your pocket that helps you just like focus on the thing. And then soothing, for sure. For me, it's always singing in my car. Like, I know it doesn't sound soothing, but definitely like, it's like the sound of my voice and just hearing something like in my head, and then just music in general, I feel like is like soothing. So
it might not be soothing for your passengers. But.
Yeah, no, it has to be alone in the car. I have like a belted out playlist. Yeah. Another highlight in the journal we want to talk about is our self-care ideas. So obviously we had a whole episode last week with Tammy. She was amazing talking about self-care. So we put in this journal 2 whole pages. Actually, there's 4 whole pages of self-care ideas, because I think sometimes when you're in infertility, you don't realize Like, it's so easy to like forget, like, oh, what could I even do with myself? Like, I have had so much retail therapy. That's always my go-to. And also I ran out of money because of IVF. And so I can't go shopping anymore. But like, this is such a good list of things. I mean, like diving into a book, eating your favorite snack that you might not get to have very often, or going for a walk, getting out in nature, listening to music, having a really good coffee or like a special coffee, or whatever special drink from whatever special place you like to go to. Sorry, Ashley, I'll share that page. So yeah, these are some of the self-care idea pages that we have here. And we love self-care. Again, I think I would encourage everybody to go back and listen to the episode last week with Tammy. She's got some great ideas in there. But yeah, definitely self-care is so key. So I think it's really important to make sure you think about that when you're, going through your journey. Like, how am I taking care of me today during this 2-week wait, or during this cycle, or, maybe it's just going to bed early or having a nap. Like, those are all such great things, because we can't always like take a bath when we're on this journey, or, some of those things are harder to kind of get in that we would normally do. And so, yeah, there's just some really good ideas in this book. So definitely get your hands on it. There's also, I'll talk a little bit about the journaling part of the journal, but there's a whole section in the middle with a lot of blank journaling pages just for free journaling. I mentioned earlier we have the rage pages where you can just write down. They look so awesome. They're just like, they're so like lightning bolts and kind of scary, but this is where you can let it all out, all the angry things that you can think, but you can't say out loud. And so you can put them in this book because infertility sucks. And that's what we started with. And then you can put your own rage statements down there, all the things that you're feeling. On the flip side, we also included, I think, 3 or 4 pages for gratitude, because it is so important to not just focus on the hard things, but to focus on the positive things and the things that we can be grateful for. It just helps sort of tune our minds into the grateful things and to start looking for things that you're grateful for. We also have a tool in here called the worry jar, which I love. So basically, it's a tool that says, we want you to write down all the things you're the most worried about, and then they're going in the jar, and then you're going to write down a time when you're going to choose to worry. And other than that time of day, when you kind of open your worry jar, you're setting aside time to worry, and otherwise you're choosing not to worry because it's not going to serve you. And then you can choose to have a person with you while you worry. I love this quote by Randy Armstrong that's in the journal. It says, worrying does not take away tomorrow's troubles. It takes away today's peace. And that is just so true. Like, worrying does not change anything. But what it does do is it impacts how you're feeling in the moment, the anxiety that you have and all of that. And so using this tool to write down the worries is going to be so supportive to you. And then also taking control. So we have a taking control page where you can write down the things you can control and the things that you can't control, so that you have a really good perspective. And it's just getting it out sometimes onto paper makes such a huge difference in your journey.
One thing I wanted to say about the rage pages that I really liked is I feel like it's a great way to get out like your anger and the things that you're feeling, and maybe it's things people are saying to you, but I also think that's a great tool to then take one to your support groups, or to if you're seeing a therapist or you're getting other support, and letting them know, like, these are my triggers. These are the things that are really bugging me.
Yeah.
And then they can come and take them, and, you guys can come up with like solutions and strategies. Not that those things still won't make you angry and make you like frustrated, and there's still things you can obviously write in your rage page, but I think it's also a great tool to know, like, these are my triggers, or these are the things that I'm really struggling with, and then being able to take that and then like get extra support and help on it. But it's also really freeing to like write, like, I hate that when people say this to me, or like, this sucks, like, this journey is awful, like, I hate this. Like, it's okay to write those things and feel those things, but I think it's cool to be able to have those things that are like and kind of gain that control, kind of like what we're moving on to like this next slide, like regaining that control.
Yeah, 100%. It's so true. I love those pages as well. Again, I wish I had this journal when I was like in the thick of it to like write down all the rage stuff. We've like joked about at Oasis how we're going to start like a fertility rage room where you can just go and smash the shit out of like cars and mirrors and windows and all kinds of stuff, because sometimes you just need to get that shit out. So maybe that's like Oasis like 2035. It's coming. But yeah, we also in this section of the journal, we have some awesome resources on how to communicate with your loved ones. That's often something that you might struggle with, how to talk to your family, how to talk to the people that you love about this journey. And then we also have space for you to write down your communication plan. So how you're going to tell them, what's the most effective approach, what's the best time and place, and then a fertility support tree. And then mindfulness coloring pages. They're so beautiful. If you are a colorer, you're going to want to get your hands on this, because these are just like a nice way while you're just listening to some nice music or a podcast of Oasis FSN. You might want to put on a podcast or just put on a, whatever novel you're listening to at the moment and color. It just feels so good sometimes to just like focus on the colors. We're going to move on to talk about the 2-week wait in a minute. But before we do, I just want to mention too, there's a whole section in this journal for tracking. So you can track your medications. You can track there's like empty months of pages where you can like just write down your cycles, what's going on. There's follicle scan count pages. There is test result pages. There's an expense tracker, because we all know that is crazy important. Sorry, Ash, I'll share the pages. So just a quick little snapshot. And then the what the fuck appointment note pages, because that's what we call the appointment where it's like, okay, we had a failed cycle or a failed transfer or whatever. And all of a sudden it's like, well, what the fuck happened? And so these pages are reserved for those appointments, those notes where you're like, okay, we and in the book it says, we hope you never have to use these, but they're there so that you can write down like, what your doctor says and what's the next steps and what's the next stages. So yeah, that's sort of the center section of the journal. And then I always called
it the what the fuck appointment, but people in all of my groups call it why the transfer failed appointment.
Oh, why WTF is why the transfer failed. Oh, I love that. Okay, it's like a play on words.
They said why the transfer failed appointment, because you can call like, and the doctors call it the why the transfer failed, or WTF.
Oh, maybe I'm just an idiot and I didn't realize.
No, so I've always called it what the fuck appointment too, like, because I feel like that's the thing. But I just thought that was funny. That is funny. They call it why the transfer failed appointment. And I'm like, okay, so because you can book them at our clinic, but I have like why the transfer failed appointments, but I think it should be what the fuck appointment, because why did it not work? Like, everyone goes into every cycle giving it their all, and like, why don't they all work? They should all just work.
Yeah. I'm just catching up on their Instagram feed here. We did have a couple of people comment the mantras that they wanted to share with us, and we have just circling back to that part of the episode. Somebody said, do it now so I won't regret it later. I love that. Somebody else said, everything will work out. And that's a good one too. Like, whatever's true to you, I think is sort of, a key to getting through this, whatever feels right to you. That's ultimately, all that really matters. So I think focus on those things,
For sure.
So we're going to move to the last section of the journal. We're going to spend some time here talking about the 2-week wait before we wrap up. And I'll just whip through. We've got this helpful resources. Oh, I'm going to share the screen. Helpful resources pages. A lot of people ask us why the pineapple is so interesting to the fertility journey. Why do we use that symbol so much in all of our marketing and, as a symbol of sort of hope? But we have a whole page on that in here. Why the pineapple? We have information about choosing a clinic and how to choose a clinic and some things that you should consider. We have questions for your doctor that we prompt, and then some additional space for questions. And then we have a 2-week wait guide, and then a fertility glossary, and a fertility, what's the other piece in here that's so great? Oh, the acronyms. I don't know if any of you are on social media or those forums, like probably Reddit and any of those forums where people just use all of these crazy acronyms, BCP for birth control pill, or, there's all kinds of them. There's people use DW for dear wife or DH for dear husband. There's things that were like, I don't know, when I first got on those forums, I'm like, what language are we speaking here? And so we put the acronyms in the book because we're like, people need to know. They need to have access to this. So like, oh, okay, I can speak this crazy language that people speak in this community. And then a glossary just to support some, things that you might not know what they are. If you're just starting your journey, you might have questions about them. And then obviously we have at the very end your crisis lines and support. So if you are really struggling with mental health, where you can go for help and create a safety plan if you are feeling like on the edge. So yeah, we're going to talk about for the last couple of minutes, navigating the 2-week wait, because this is such a hard thing. That 2-week wait, the time between, if you don't know what the 2-week wait is, it's the time between either putting the embryo in, putting the sperm in if you're doing an IUI, and then waiting for the positive pregnancy test. And so that period of time, if it's an IUI, then probably it's going to be 2 weeks. It's probably going to be 12 to 14 days. If it's a transfer of an embryo, it's probably going to be a little bit shorter. So we're going to give you 8 tips, 8 things that we think are going to help you navigate the 2-week wait, and then some pitfalls to avoid. So I'll let you start, Ashley, with number 1.
Perfect. So the first one is stay busy. So find things that you love, that you like doing. Try to keep your mind off of it. It is so hard. Obviously, I know Erin and I have both been there multiple times, but just trying to do things that you enjoy and keeping your mind off of it is such a great thing you can do.
Yeah. Yeah. And it can be so hard to do, like to take your mind off it, to busy yourself. But at the end of the day, like even just, getting together, doing a puzzle, watching a show, like binge watching something or like, diving into work, staying busy, it's not a bad thing when you have to just pass this time. The worst thing you can do is just sit there and worry or wait for this test to be positive or you hit that point where you have a blood result and you actually know the answer. So, that leads us to number 2, which is schedule the worry time. So we have the worry jar tool in the book. And so schedule the time to worry. And it's actually the page number in here is incorrect because we made a few changes at the end. It's actually page 62, not 46, which it says on this guide. But page 62, the worry jar, schedule time every day to worry. Maybe it's at the end of the day. Maybe it's right when you get up. So you're like, get all your worries out first thing in the morning while you're eating your cereal or your breakfast or whatever it is, or while you're drinking your coffee. You're like, I'm just going to worry for a little bit and then I'm going to stop. And I'm not going to worry again all day. And every time a worry goes into your mind, you're like, nope, that worry is for later. I'm going to put it aside and not worry at this point in time. And then focus on other things the remainder of the time, if you can. I know it's hard. There's like no easy way through this. Yeah.
Mine was always when I was driving. Not that that's when you should be worrying. I feel like I would cry and drive as I would go.
Oh my gosh. A good cry and drive is the best thing ever. It's the best thing ever.
That was my time.
Oh yeah. I love a good drive cry. It's so good. Nobody can see you or hear you. You can wail at the top of your lungs. You can smash the steering wheel. You can scream. Like it's so good.
I always think though, like if I get pulled, like you're at a stoplight or whatever, and someone looks over, they're like, what is going on with this girl over here?
Just give them the finger, like, you know what? Mind your business.
Number 3 is find support. So there's so many different ways you can find support while you're going through this journey. Maybe it's through one of our amazing support groups, which we would love to have you be a part of. And we have so many of them. Find a community. Maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a parent, maybe it's your spouse, but find support. Maybe it's a therapist. Find something that works for you. Everyone's different. But take that step out of your comfort zone, because it's really hard to do, and find the support that works the best for you. And no one can tell you what is the best support for you. But we have so many options, and we've included them within this amazing journal for you to help find what will work for you. And we would love to be a part of your journey and support you through that. So find support while you're going through it. It's really the best thing that you can do.
Yeah, totally. And like have your key people that will support you, that you can just call when you are worrying or where you are stressing and be like, oh, I'm just stressing so much right now. And they're going to talk you off the ledge and they're going to say, hey, what are we going to do? Or they will distract you. They'll be like, hey, let's go get a pedicure, or let's go to the mall, or let's go. Like they're going to be that person that like helps you sort of along the way, or orders you a puzzle from Amazon and says, here you go, distract yourself with this or whatever, your accountability person. The fourth thing is move your body. And I know there's a lot of like controversial, not controversial necessarily, but there's a lot of conflicting advice when it comes to moving your body during the 2-week wait. And so we will say like 1000% listen to the advice of your doctor in every situation. But even if it's just a gentle exercise or going for a walk or something that is just even just stretching, just moving your body to like, I don't know, sometimes when I have a therapy appointment, I will walk and do therapy because walking actually helps you move emotions and helps you move things, fear, whatever, out of your body. It helps you move things out. It helps get a little bit of blood flowing, and it helps you, clear your head a little bit. So definitely move your body, at the very least, going for a short, gentle walk if you can and are able. And doing it with a friend or somebody, or honestly putting in a good audiobook and just, off with the fairies, literally, and then, going for a little walk. Yeah.
Number 5 is practice relaxation. So we talked about some muscle relaxation that you can do. We talked about some grounding, that mindfulness, like bringing yourself and into the present and kind of getting out of that like spiraling state. So practicing relaxation is something that I think that we should all do on a general basis, in all honesty, just to ground ourselves again. But definitely something you can do during the 2-week wait.
Yeah, for sure. And having a plan, like every day, like for the whole 2-week wait, like make a list of like what you're going to do to relax every evening. So like on night 1, it's going to be going for a walk. On night 2, it's going to be watching a movie with my partner. On night 3, it's going to be like plan it out. And then, like you have the things to look forward to. You're not like, what am I going to do tonight? How am I going to relax? It's going to just be planned out, and you're going to know it's going to go so much faster if you do that.
For sure.
Number 6 is write it down. So write down your thoughts, your concerns. The journal is going to help you with that. And writing can help you declutter your mind and just put everything out there, write it all out to get all the feelings out. That'll be helpful.
The next one is focus on small milestones. So while you're in the 2-week wait, try not to think about it as like I have depending if I have 14 days or I have 8 days or however many days to your cycle, try to focus on the small things you're going through it. Try to focus on, maybe tomorrow I'm going to meet with a friend for coffee. I'm going to get through that. Or maybe I'm going shopping on Saturday, and just try to like go through those take small steps at a time, and try not to focus your week on I have 14 days to get through or however many days. Just focus it like one day at a time and just go through each of those steps. Or, today I'm just going to focus on taking my medication and, getting through this needle and going through, like trying not to think about it. I have 14 needles left or have this much more to do. Just try to think about it like one day at a time. I think it's really important.
Totally. I love that, one day at a time, sometimes 1 hour at a time, sometimes 1 minute at a time. You're just like taking it every step. You're one step closer to finding out and having that result so that you can then move on to the next step of the journey. Number 8, the last thing, is set boundaries. So surround yourself with encouraging community and establish boundaries to safeguard your mental and emotional health. Sometimes that means not telling your friends or family that you did a transfer, and just having like 1 or 2 buddies who know, and they're your safe people that you can talk to about it. But I know I got to a point where I was like, oh, we're not telling anybody about this transfer, because it just got too hard knowing that everybody was waiting for that result and everybody knows. And so sometimes that's good, sometimes it's not, but have boundaries and try and, just before you head into the transfers, think on, who's safe and who, are the right people to tell, and set boundaries. And it's okay, not to take a couple days off work during that period. Even I would recommend going to work to distract yourself, but maybe you're like, I hate these people, and there's a pregnant girl and there's baby shower in the lunchroom next week and I'm not going, and that's fine. Set the boundaries you need to set so that you feel safe in your own journey, and that your mental health feels the most supported. Yeah, that's so important.
Let's quickly talk about the pitfalls to avoid during your 2-week wait. One of the big things for me is overanalyzing your symptoms that you're going through. I think that, we overanalyze everything already in our fertility. And so after we've transferred that embryo, or you're sitting there waiting after you've done an IUI or time cycle, whatever it may be, and you're like, oh, I felt a twinge. I think we're implanting. And then, maybe your cycle starts early and you're like, no, it's just implantation bleeding, or it's just this or that. We really don't know until we take that beta 14 days after, or however many days after you've done your transfer. And it is really, really hard to sit and wait and not guess what these symptoms are, what these things that are happening, am I feeling cramps? Do I have muscle spasms, or all of these things because it worked, or maybe because they didn't work? And then we just wind ourselves up again into this spiraling situation where we again don't know if it worked. And it's so hard. I've done it a million times. I've gone through a million transfers and I do it every single time. And it's really hard to get out of. And I don't know if I ever will, but I think that it's one of those things because the medications mimic symptoms.
They do.
So it's really, really hard to know. And don't count yourself out or in, just kind of it's hard to, I don't want to say enjoy the ride, because it's not it's not so enjoyable process, but just get through it kind of.
Yeah, for sure. I think overanalyzing it's for sure a huge pitfall. It's so hard to avoid. I would say next to impossible not to overthink every feeling, every little thing that's going on. I think the big thing is if you put it in your worry jar, then leave it there and worry about it when you set the time aside to stress about the things that you're overanalyzing. Don't let it consume you the whole time. And if that means you have to take Facebook off your phone for a couple weeks, or take things off your phone that aren't in easy access to Reddit things or whatever, I get this question all the time from folks in our community, just because I had this negative pregnancy test, it could still be positive beta, right? We get, yes, there are stories that have that outcome. It's possible. But then you get that negative test, you lose that hope, you have this deep dive of, sadness. And then it's it could still be a positive outcome. Maybe you tested too early. So that's one of the other pitfalls is don't test too soon. Don't test at all if you can. If there's a world that exists where you don't test, just don't buy the pregnancy test. If they're not there, you can't test. You'll get to the end of the 2-week wait sooner than you think, and you'll be able to then just trust the beta test and know that it is either positive or negative, and have that answer without stressing over, is the line getting darker, is it getting lighter, and you're testing multiple times a day. That can just be mentally exhausting.
I'm a serial tester.
Yeah, a serial tester. I was the opposite, and I'm not saying I did the right thing by any means, but I hated testing because I didn't want to know, because I was the longer I don't know, the longer I can just hope that it's poopo, right? Pregnant until proven otherwise, PUPO. And so I'm no, I'm just going to live in this moment of and I would even go as far as to not pick up the phone when the clinic called me to tell me the answers to the results to my beta, because I'm I still don't want to know. I'm not ready to find this out. I'm not ready to deal with the feelings and the emotions that are coming with this answer. So
I also just love that you called it poopo. I always called it puppo.
Puppo. Puppo. Tomato. Oh, that's so funny. Well, we're getting close to the end of the episode, and I think we're I can't believe we took up the whole hour, Ash. I was thinking, this is going to be a short episode. We're just going to whip through this journal, but it's been such a nice conversation with you and just chatting about everything. So yeah.
What do we I just want to just say that our journal has so many great resources, benefits of participating in our group, mental health and wellness resources, some journaling, we have tracking, we have helpful resources. So this journal, again, was made by people who have gone through infertility and wished we had something like this on our journey. So it is free, and we want to get it into the hands of as many people as possible. So if you need a copy, please let us know. If you want to join a support group, you can follow us at Oasis Fertility. Our support group information is on there. There's lots of different support groups that we offer, and we will be back next Wednesday.
We sure will. Yeah, and I think the journal right now, we are doing like a pre-sale. So if you do want a copy and you're not part of a support group currently, we're doing this probably just for a limited time because it's hot off the press and we want to kind of create a bit of hype about it. So if you know somebody, if you're listening and you know somebody, head over to our website. It's oasisfsn.com, to our shop, where you can shop. We also have great merch in there if you want to purchase like a pineapple hoodie or a candle or a toque or a t-shirt that says I can do hard things. That's where you want to go to the website, to the shop, and you can shop for all of those fun things. But the journal's there. You just have to pay for shipping. So check it out, and or join a support group, and that is where you will get a free copy for your first time you go. It's a beautiful journal, like we said. Thanks for everybody who joined us tonight, Ash. Thanks for being such an awesome co-host. And yeah, we will see you all next Wednesday. We have Lisa coming on to talk about, when is it okay to stop fertility, and like the hard decision of walking away from a fertility journey. She's an amazing coach. She's awesome with this topic, and she has her own journey that ended that ended childless. And so she's going to talk about that. I can't wait. So Sarah will be here next week with Lisa. So join us 8:00. We'll see y'all next Wednesday. Thank you all for joining. Have a great night. Bye, everyone.